there's a sort of worrying bellwether, and it's Japan. And actually, I think economists have a joke. They say there's four types of economy. They, developed, undeveloped, or developing, developed, Japan, and Argentina. And I think the worrying bellwether for Japan is the state of their economy. However, they have invested in a lot of public infrastructure. Tokyo, I think in the 90s it was, they sort of fixed their housing crisis.
And automation.
Yeah,
as well.
they're on top of technological sort of automation, but it's still not looking good in terms of prospects for young Japanese people. They've just elected a new right-wing government that's promising to, I think fix a lot of things. Do you know anything about? Do you know anything about this?
Oh, I know. Yes. Well, my anecdotes from what I see online is that there is a huge right-wing populist movement in Japan. That's actually, I guess, the Japanese right are being massively influenced to bar foreigners and bar even tourists to the country.
Yeah.
And in fact, a lot of like sort of the crime and disruption that you're seeing in Japan is being blamed on, especially Chinese tourists. So there was I think a fake AI video about some
Kicking
the deers in the park, which is completely like proven to be fabricated. But this helps spin this huge like right-wing narrative, far-right narrative that all tourists from China are bad and we shouldn't even be letting tourists enter this country. So I guess that's what happens when you have a very like xenophobic, protectionist nation like Japan. And okay,
but because but the thing is, they don't have immigrants to scapegoat really.
Yeah.
Because they're quite
quite homogenous.
They sort of limit
state.
So they have to they sort of blame tourists, which is, I mean, sort of fair in a way, because the tourists they do come and they can spend a lot of money because of the strength of their currency to the Japanese yen. So it's interesting to look at Japan as a case study. I bet people have been saying for years, Japan is the sort of end point of a managed decline.
Can we get a bit more lowbrow now, based on the topic, touching on the topic of Japanese tourism? Because I was watching Jane McDonald, Lost in Japan, with my parents, and I watched this whole series. Have you seen it?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I think you mentioned this to me. I asked, is this like Carl Pilkington?
Yes, essentially, but like not intentionally.
Right.
So it's this northern lady who is, I guess, like representative of kind of like the average Brit, your everyday British woman, like Malaga hen party going, you know the type.
No.
Do you know adjacent? So Channel 5 decided to send Jane McDonald to various countries. I hear there's an India series that I'm really interested in, but Japan was one of them. And it was really interesting seeing like the perspective of Japan from someone that knows nothing about Japanese culture. And if you grew up a nerd like me, interested in anime, you know quite a lot about Japanese culture. Like it just proliferates everywhere, right? But I guess the average Brit found it refreshing to see themselves represented by this woman in Japan. But I guess the comment my parents had about this show, because I was showing them how she was doing these various activities, like creating books and origami and trying a tea ceremony. There were some really nice like cultural like demonstrations. But then it also included really bizarre activities like going into a rice field and like planting rice, like pretending you're some rice farmer, or like being hit with a stick while you're like practicing.
Well, that's what
Zen.
they do, no, the Japanese.
Yes, but like Japanese labourers do it, right?
Yeah.
But I found it really interesting how they commercialise this into a
The
tourist
experience.
activity.
I mean, no, this is true for everything, right? If you go to France and you pick some grapes in the vineyard and you wear a beret,
I guess,
whatever.
but this is how I guess these countries have kind of really capitalised on like making the mundane into some marketable tourist attraction. Like it was very funny to witness. Like you're given like a little patch of grass and you're standing in muddy water and you're planting it. Like this is what Japanese labourers would do, and they managed to market it to the Western.
The key
tourist.
point there is they are marketing to the Western tourists, because there's so much Western tourism because their currency is so strong in Japan, and so they're inflating all the prices, which is why the Japanese sort of feel
Right, it's a vicious cycle.
I mean, it's the same for us in the UK. Our opposition to immigration is the massive demand shock, or supply shock. In some, if you're talking about labour, I mean, it's easy to blame the symptom and not the cause in many of
100%.
these cases.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the cause of this sort of? It seems like a global downturn in the economy. What is the cause of it? Is it over financialization?
I don't think there's any like one root cause. Just a stacking of lots of previous unaddressed issues like economic decline since global financial crisis.
On top of that, the wars
on top
and
of that, COVID, excessive borrowing during COVID, excessive, money supply during COVID, and all of this was kind of done, kind of very laissez-faire. Like, we will let future generations figure it out. Like, we knew.
Well, I think it's quite the opposite of laissez-faire. It's very much government intervention.
Well, but by decision makers, it was kind of we knew. Let's talk about like a year and a half into COVID, right? When we saw signs that like the vaccination program, like there was hope, right? Why did we continue to have like economic shutdown and lockdown after that? This was a deliberate economic decision that pitted the old against the young, right? Because the young really needed, after subsequent lockdowns and like low economic activity, graduation without jobs, some kind of economic stimulus. And the young is overwhelmingly less affected by COVID. But of course, if we opened up the economy again, we would see infection rates rise and death rates rise from, again, the oldest and most vulnerable people in our society. So this was a generational pivoting point, decided that we are going to shift. Well, this is like a wealth transfer in a way, that we are going to shift our focus and our support from the young people that need jobs, need employment, need to get on the property ladder, whatever, to old people who are already, let's like 60 plus, 70 plus, 80 plus, to let them live. This is the most cynical. I know it sounds cynical.
I mean, there has been a lot of discussion on this.
Yeah.
The criticisms of the boomers.
We're going to let them live longer, yes.
And it is true, that generation, it's the boomers, they've held political power for an unprecedented length of time.